Regardless of the game you play or the level of skill that you play at, chances are you're missing massive opportunities to improve. And to be honest, almost everyone is. These opportunities are ones you're biologically influenced to skip over, causing you and most other players to improve much slower than you're capable of. And the thing that's holding you back from identifying and using these opportunities is your perspective. Specifically, your perspective on failure. While 99% of players respond to small failures in a very negative way, top-level professional gamers often do the opposite. When top-level players make a mistake or lose a match, rather than reacting out of frustration, they often become emotionally reserved and seem to get lost in their own heads. It's as though after losing, they take the opportunity to soak in the experience and methodically think about it rather than reacting to it in an impulsive way. But in order to understand why they do this and what's going through their mind, we need to understand their perspective. During a typical match, there are two very important factors that motivate us to play well. These factors are fear and frustration. Because we fear to lose and we fear to drop in the ranks, we are motivated to win. And because every death and every loss brings us frustration, we put more pressure on ourselves to play better and avoid that frustration. So fear and frustration are beneficial in our motivation to win. But paradoxically, fear and frustration directed towards the wrong things and in the wrong magnitude can destroy your performance and destroy your skill development. It's no secret that challenging yourself is the best way to improve, and you'll often hear the advice to get out of your comfort zone and take some risks in order to expand your skill set. And this is exactly why North American esports players go to Korean boot camps and play in Korean servers in order to train and improve.
I mean, obviously Korea, the solo quality is really high, so I think that's the correct decision. Just keep playing solo queue and play a lot of scrim. But in NA it's different. Honestly, NA solo queue is garbage, and it helps 0% for improving my skills.
Unfortunately, fear can convince us to avoid the levels of challenge that we need to improve. This may manifest in you not feeling confident enough to play an important game. For example, ranked anxiety is a commonly used term for those who find themselves procrastinating from playing ranked games. They tend to avoid playing ranked matches until the perfect moment. Unfortunately, the perfect moment often comes, say, 3 hours after warming up. And the results of procrastinating from challenge means that you're constantly avoiding vital opportunities to improve. Another key to improving as a competitive gamer is trying new skills and new strategies that force you out of your comfort zone.
And this is just one of the things I like to do. I like to put myself out of my comfort zone because it opens me up to be able to learn more things than I normally would. It's really the only time I actually learn things.
But of course, fear prevents us from trying new things, whether that be a new character or a new strategy. The reason for this is because when we try something new, we're taking a big risk. Trying something new often means constantly losing and constantly making a lot of mistakes until you get the hang of it. So fear convinces us to stick with what we know and just avoid the short-term loss. Unfortunately, the result of constantly playing the same strategies and the same characters over and over is that we never develop the game knowledge or flexibility necessary to become a high-level player. And of course, pro players are well aware of this. They know that they need a well-rounded skill set, and they know that they need sufficient game knowledge and flexibility in their strategies. This is why you see top League of Legends players who are flexible in the champions they use.
But when we're talking about who has the pushing lanes, they actually have done
an insta-locked misfortune. This is an insta-locked misfortune.
Support MF.
It's not! Rocks Tigers answer back with game 2!
I love this series.
And professional CSGO players that can change their strategy on the fly.
And he's alone in this 1-on-2. He's finally got the bomb. Problem is now when he plants, he can't make it out, and he's stuck in here. Just getting the bomb down. He's going to have to take the fight. There's the one shot. FNX shot. Oh, no! Are you kidding me?
Once you've entered a match or committed to training a skill, you'll quickly interact with frustration. Frustration creeps up when we make a mistake. For example, when we die at a pivotal moment, or miss an amazing opportunity, or just lose an important match. Well, frustration naturally teaches us what not to do and thus helps us to improve as players. It is often directed in the wrong direction, with the wrong magnitude, causing it to destroy our skill development. For example, when you die during an important match, it's easy to let frustration consume you. Next thing you know, you're in a state of blind rage, screaming at your computer about how OP the enemy is, or how your teammates should have been there. The first issue with this is in directing frustration outwards. When you place blame on someone else, or place blame on a mechanic within the game, you're telling your brain that you did everything just fine, and had no control over the outcome. In response, your brain switches from trying to learn from the experience and improve as a player, to how best to flame your team or communicate frustration to your monitor. And since every mistake and every minor failure is not your fault and not worth learning from, you are constantly missing perhaps the greatest opportunities to improve. The second issue with frustration is how much you get frustrated. When we become extremely frustrated, it triggers our brain into what's called fight or flight mode. Fight or flight mode is an evolutionary mechanism built into the human brain to help our ancestors who came across immediate dangers. It would help them to run away or defend themselves from dangerous animals. And it works by redirecting energy from your brain into your body so that you can physically fight or flee from the danger. While this evolutionary mechanism might help us to run away from a tiger, it doesn't do us much good when we're sitting stationary trying to focus on the game. And since the fight or flight response causes energy to be directed away from your brain, it leaves you in a state of decreased cognitive function, which destroys your immediate performance and, more importantly, destroys your ability to learn from your mistakes. But let's imagine for a moment that you took a magical pill, and this magical pill makes you a fearless player with full control over your frustration. Being a player without fear, you'll enter more ranked games, take more challenges, and develop a wider range of strategies and skills. And because of this newfound risk-taking and desire to try new things, you will lose a bit more in the short term, but you will improve much faster and much farther than all the players who are stuck in their comfort zone. And as a player without frustration, you are no longer held back by your impulsive emotions. You can now actively take ownership of every failure and extract from them opportunities to improve. So for every small mistake, you now take the time to watch the kill cam, review the death recap, or play back the scenario in your mind's eye. And as a result, you begin to see more and more opportunities to improve. But here's the problem. Fear of losing and frustration with your mistakes are 100% natural. And because you have constantly experienced fear and frustration over and over again while playing, your brain has wired itself to automatically feel these emotions without your conscious consent. So how exactly do you eliminate fear and frustration if they're wired into your brain? Well, the key to this, like I mentioned at the beginning, is changing your perspective. The brain feels fear and frustration when you perceive that you are losing progress in any meaningful way. For example, when you lose your spot in the ranks or lose at a tournament. So the issue here is not your emotions, it's what you perceive as losing. And if your key focus and your main goal is on individual wins or improving your rank, then any hint of losing a match or losing your current rank will scare the hell out of you and cause you to feel frustrated. And of course, the only way to avoid this is by changing your perspective and changing your goals. The top esports masters don't perceive short-term victory or small bumps in the ranks as their ultimate end goal achievement. Instead, they perceive these as small bonuses towards their long-term goal. And that long-term goal is their skill development. Thus, short-term losses and constant mistakes don't even faze them. In fact, I assume that small mistakes have the potential to excite them, because instead of perceiving them as a loss, they perceive them as a victory towards greater skills. Even the most successful Street Fighter player in the world, Daigo Yumehara, talks about how tournaments are a playground for people who practice for growth. And once he made that realization, he finally started making continued growth his goal rather than winning. And throughout his book, The Will to Keep Winning, he urges players to change their perspective from playing for the sake of winning to playing for the sake of improving. Now, of course, improving your skills is already something you want, but it can't just be a want. It needs to become your main goal. You need to begin looking at every win and every loss as an equal success if it helps you to improve as a player. And every minor mistake or every major failure must be perceived as an exciting opportunity to learn. Of course, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to win. Winning is nice, but rather than it being your main objective, winning should be the fruits of your labor. So the next time you hop into a game, start making this new perspective a habit. You'll begin to notice when frustration bubbles up or when fear tries to persuade you away from challenge. At this point, remind yourself that it's okay to lose and it's okay to make mistakes, because these failures bring massive opportunity for you to improve, and improving is what it's all about. Hey there, eAthletes. I hope you got a ton of value from this video, and I challenge you to make this new perspective a habit. I promise you that it won't be easy at first, and that fear and frustration will continue to pop up, but after a short while of fighting back and actively embracing failure, this new perspective will become automatic. And of course, once this perspective becomes automatic, you'll have a natural defense against tilt and ranked anxiety, allowing you to progress faster than most players. But I would love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment down below telling me about what you took away from this video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.